I have a super easy fabric bin tutorial for you. I did this under an hour and mainly just used little larger scraps of fabric that I had at home. I have here some denim, I have a flannel mix and a lightweight interfacing, some thread that fits, the fabric, sewing machine, I have some pinking scissors. You might not need them depending on fabric. Some chalk or marker, fabric scissors, the pins, a ruler, and I also got an iron. So make sure you wash and iron your fabric before we get started. This is a tutorial without pattern, so I basically will guide you through it. We start out with a 10 by 12 inch rectangle. I have the fabric laying double, so you can save some time and some measuring. Alright, yeah, here you see I have it double. Make sure to pin it down before cutting it to prevent any moving. It helps to keep everything in place. And we cut that out now. Just take your time. There we go. Make sure everything lays flat. I double check usually the measurements again, not always, but most of the times. And then we need to add some of these little cutouts. I did 2 inch by 2 inch to make the fabric bin a little bit more boxy and give it some bottom. Also, you cut these two in both layers of the fabric. You can pin it down a little bit closer to make sure it's not moving, but I just did it quick like this. Getting rid of all the pins. Make sure you don't poke yourself. Happens to me quite often. And then we do the same thing with the interfacing and the denim. That was quick. I added the interfacing on the flannel fabric because it gives it a little bit more structure. And already ironed that on. Okay, flannel face on face. Make sure everything aligns. And this is what we gotta sew. So let's pin it in place. It's not moving. It can be a little tricky. The interfacing not just gives it structure, but it also makes it thicker. And sometimes a little hard to get through with the needles. Sometimes it just moves where you have some kind of bulk underneath, so just make sure it lays flat so you don't have that later. Perfect. And then we can sew the sides together as well. My sewing machine is already ready to go. Everything is threaded. And then I align my fabric with a foot. It usually gives you a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm using also a regular straight stitch. Oh, something went away here. There we go. Make sure you're also using back stitching. And also a tip, be careful with going over the needles like this. They can snap and they can break, and you don't want that in your eye, so just take your time going over that. Now we gotta repeat that on all sides. All right, that was pretty quick. We can get rid of the needles. Okay, double checking everything seems fine. And now we can move on to the corners. Make sure you align it here, seam on seam, and I usually press them apart so it's not as bulky when you sew over it. And pin this down. And then sew this part. Same thing for the other corner. Can be sometimes a little hard to make it form like this, especially with the interfacing. It can be a little hard to force it to lay flat, but it usually works well. Same thing here. Alright, this is basically how it's supposed to look like. Can be a little wonky, especially if you're a beginner, but that is totally fine. It will look good in the end, regardless. And if you have some fabric that frays, you can use yours, of course. Mine does not need that. Alright, let's move on to the other fabric. Basically same process again with the denim. You're gonna pin that down and then we sew along here. Oop, that was quick. And then of course the corners. Same exact thing again. Make sure everything lays flat. And you have it seam on seam. And the other side. There we go. And sew here the corners too. Alright, we got that finished. I've reversed the fabric, boxing out the corners, checking on the seams, everything looks good. And then I added the denim into my flannel face on face, so everything aligns, and then add the seams, put the seams on top of each other like I did, or tried to do it here. It's a little tricky. And then try to pin it down. Maybe not how I do it, because it's definitely the needle is definitely gonna poke you, but I did not think about that. So just be careful. And then the other seam on seam. And then you lay these seams on top of each other again. And then you get the center point for this side and for the other. So let's pin that down too. And this side. Then we gotta sew once around, but leave this little piece open so we can reverse this later. And don't forget the back stitching. Okay, nice and slow. Alright, this worked well. Took the pins out. Oh, I forgot about this one. And now we can reverse it. Take your time. You don't want to open on accident another seam. My opening was a little smaller than I anticipated, so it was a little harder, but you usually can get it through. There we go. Okay, boxing out the corners a little bit more, and it almost comes to life. Okay, we just now need to close this down. So make sure we hold it in place even more. And then we sew once along the edge here. Don't forget the back stitching, of course. I went all the way around. It gives it a little bit more structure and it's a nice finished stitch. Make sure you're as close as possible to the corner. It might be a little harder, especially when you're a beginner, to get that stitch completely straight. We all struggle with that. But with the two fabrics, it sometimes is not easy to do. So just take your time. You're a little bit more in control if you're going slower. All right, we're pretty much done. I usually check on seams if everything went well. And then I usually like to fold over the top so it shows the fabric from the inside, because I think it's really sweet how that harmonizes with each other. I got some more fuzzies everywhere. But yeah, this is basically it. I hope you like it. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a like. And I hope I see you next week again.